Welcome everyone to Fun Fold Friday. I'm Dorene Decibus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and I'm really happy that you're able to join me tonight, either on the live Facebook presentation or on the replay or on my YouTube channel. Tonight we are making a flip top fancy fold. So let me show you what the card looks like. We'll go over what you need, what the dimensions are for the cardstock, and then we'll get started on it. First, before I go any further, I do want to update everyone on my new event that will be coming up. It will be posted in Facebook later tonight, but this upcoming week, my friend and fellow demonstrator, Leslie Percival from Love Ink and Paper, Love LUV, and I are going to be doing a catalog, new catalog release party, I guess I'll call it. And we are going to be sharing with you the new catalog, the new in colors, the color refresh. We're going to be sharing with you some of the sweets, stamp sets, and bundles that are in the new catalog. And it will be a lot of fun. And so I hope you're able to join us for that. It is going to be Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Friday night of next week. There will be a presentation at 6 p.m. and at 7 p.m. And I will make sure you have the links for Leslie's presentations, and she's going to make sure that her followers have the links for my presentations. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you're able to join us. Well, let's get started. So this is a flip top fancy fold. So I used the Sea Turtle set, and I'm using a sentiment from Charming Sentiments, and I'll show you both of those sets in just a minute. And when you flip the top, you're going to see another stamped image, and then on the inside here, I'm using the seashell embossing folder. And I have to tell you, this is one of my favorite embossing folders, and it is retiring. And it's not retiring from my stamp room because I love this folder. This is the folder here. And like I said, it's going to be retired, but there's still time. I don't know if it's sold out. It wasn't sold out the other day, but it's great to use with some of the sets that we have currently in the catalog. When you open up the card, there's another embossed image, and then there's a stamped image on the inside panel. So let's talk about what we're going to use. So I am going to be using these great pastel adhesive gems that as just an accessory on the card. I'm also going to be using some Bigger's twine in white. As I said, I'm going to be using the Sea Turtle stamp set, and the Sea Turtle stamp set is a reversible stamp set, and that makes it pretty cool. So that's something to think about, and I'll be talking about the reversible stamp sets in our catalog preview. And I'm also using the Charming Sentiments, which is a photopolymer stamp set, and it has all these great sentiments that also have dies to cut them out with. So it's a pretty cool set. All right, for cardstock that you're going to need for tonight's presentation. And I'm just going to turn on one more light because it looks like it's a little dark on my screen. See if that lightens things up a little bit. I think it did. All right, so we are using for ink Coastal Cabana. We're using Pumpkin Pie, and we're also going to be using Pacific Point. And the Pacific Point ink and cardstock is retiring, so just let you know that ahead of time. We also need 2 pieces of Coastal Cabana that measure 5 1/4 by 4. And I've already pre-embossed both of these with the seashell embossing folder. You're going to need a piece of 5 1/4 by 4 basic white cardstock for the inside of the card. Sorry, lost my train of thought for a minute. You're going to need 2 pieces of 3 by 4 3/4. This is going to go on the front and the inside of that flap. And then finally, you're going to need a piece of a full sheet of the Pacific Point cardstock. So let me put this out of the way for a little bit, and we're going to start and do some of our stamping. You're also going to need a piece for the label. I used the hexagon dies for this, and I decided to change it up. This die set is retiring, just to let you know. I'm actually going to use a label from the new Cheerful Daisies stamp set, so this will be fun to use as well. Okay, so let's start some of the stamping. I'm going to start with using the Coastal Cabana ink, and I'm going to be stamping several things, so I'll just show you as I change each piece of cardstock going along. I'm going to start with our sea turtle. So I'm going to be using Coastal Cabana to ink up our sea turtle and to ink up our small sea turtle. So both sea turtles will be inked up in the Coastal Cabana. When I have a really large stamp, I like to turn it over and ink it up that way. And I'm going to be using these as the 2 panels, and I'm going to stamp this turtle off. I'm going to give it some pressure. These bigger stamps, you have to make sure you've given it pressure in all the different spots. There we go. We have one of them. Let me set that aside. And now I will take my second piece. You can stamp these exactly the same, or if you want, you could have totally 2 different stamped image. You could also not stamp at all and use designer series paper on these panels. Same with the where I've embossed, you could use designer series paper for that as well. So just a thought, it doesn't have to be exactly the same as I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to take my small turtle and I'm going to have him be at 2 different spots on the card, looking like we have 2 turtles just swimming away there. And then I'm going to do my other panel the same way. And before I put this little guy away, I am going to actually stamp him on the inside. So I want to leave plenty of room for a greeting, you know, a hello, whatever I want to write in this, but I want something on the bottom. I don't want the inside to just be totally blank. So let's just finish up this piece that we have right here. I'm going to take my pumpkin pie, and I have these cute little fish that I'm going to have swimming by the turtle. And I'm just trying to use really bright colors in this card, make it a nice, happy card. You can see how well these fish stamp. Have them coming and going in lots of different ways. There we go. So that was done in pumpkin pie ink. So that's it for our inside section. So I'm going to set that aside. And now we're going to pull this out, and we're going to pull out our Pacific Point ink, the ink that's retiring, and the cardstock and everything that goes with it. And I'm going to take the large bubble stamp. And I am just going to be placing this on some different spots. So I want it coming down the side so you can see what that looks like. I like how the bubbles have a place for like the turtle's head to kind of go in. And I'm going to put it in a couple other spots. And maybe just a little bit right up top here. There we go. I think that looks nice. So let me just take the other one, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So stamp that at the top, add a little bit right over here, and then a little bit right down here. There we go. And now the last thing, let me stamp our greeting as well. I'm just using from the Charming Sentiments. I'm using the Hey There, and I'm just going to stamp it here on this. And I think I'm going to have it, let's see. I think I'll just have it right in the middle. There we go. Now all of the stamping is done. Move these ink pads out of the way. Okay, so we have some scoring and some cutting to do on our big piece of cardstock here. So I'm going to start with the scoring. Again, I will make sure all of the scoring, all of the dimensions are posted underneath in the comments on my Facebook Live. I will also be posting this on my Facebook channel, and there will be dimensions and everything there as well. So I'm going to make two score lines on this piece of paper. I'm going to make one at 4 1/4, and I'm going to make one at 5 1/2. There we go. That's all the scoring we need. But we are going to need to do some cutting on this to get the piece of cardstock to the dimensions that we want it to be. And so let me take out my paper cutter, because that makes it for me the easiest way to do it. So let me just, I have the cutting dimensions on my computer, so I just want to have that up. All right, the first cut I'm going to make is I'm going to measure in a 1/2 inch and cut all the way down to the 5 1/2 score line. Now on my cutter, there are two great things I want to point out. One, for those little measurements, we do have some increments over on the right. And on our handle here, we also have measurements that you can use. So I need to take off this 1/2 inch, so I'm going to move that out to the 1/2 inch mark, and then I'm going to bring my cutting blade to the 5 1/2 inch mark where I scored, and I am just going to score up, cut up, and then I'm going to go at my 5 1/2, and I'm just going to score down to that cut mark. Since it's clear, I can see where those are, and it makes the cutting really easy. Then I'm going to go over here, and I am going to cut at 4 3/4 inches. And so again, I'm going to bring it down to my 5 1/2 inch mark and cut in the upwards direction. And then I am going to bring this over to the 5 1/2 inch score line, and I'm going to cut all the way down to that cut mark. And then there's one last little cut that I need to do, and I need to bring this in to the 1/2 inch, and I'm going to cut off that top flap. If you remember from the card, this flap does not go all the way down to the end of the card, so we need to take that 1/2 inch piece off. And that is all of the cutting that we need to do. My cutter got onto that ribbon in my organizer. So let me move that cardstock out of the way, and we can start folding on those score lines. So This is not a difficult card at all. It might look a little difficult, but it's not difficult at all. So what I'm going to do is take my bone folder and I'm just going to do the scoring on these. I'm going to make sure, because I'm going to be turning this over, that my edges are nice and crisp. So, to make this card, we are going to be folding it over like we would a regular card, and then this top panel is going to be folded all the way down. And I just want to have some good crease marks because it is going over several layers of paper. So I'm going to start with adding my pieces of embossed cardstock. So one is going to be going on the outside layer. One is going to be going on the inside layer. I just love how embossing transforms cardstock. Then we have that inner layer that we're going to want to have for our message. We could add another sentiment if we wanted, but I like to leave space so that I can write a message to the recipient of my card. Now what I'm going to do is to take my two panels that I made, and I am going to put one on the inside of the flap and one on the outside of the flap. You might find that you have to use your embossing folder to, not your embossing folder, I'm sorry, your score tool to really get this to sit flat. And of course it will after it's been sitting there for a while too. But we've added a lot of layers of paper to this, so you might find that it doesn't sit flat right at the beginning. So the next step is I'm going to take some of my Baker's White twine, and I am going to wrap this around a couple times, cut it off, and I'm going to first just tie a simple knot, and then I'm going to make it into a bow. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit. Like I said, I'm going to tie it in that knot first. I find that just allows me to tie a bow a little bit easier if I have it knotted first. And then I can work on making the bow the size that I want it to be. I decided to use a different label because I found on my first card the part of the bow just got underneath the label and I can't get it out without, I don't want to tear it all apart. So let me cut those ends here, get them out of the way. We're going to put some, so this is going to go right here across that front panel with dimensionals. So I'm just going to bring the bow a little bit over. There we go. And I might even help this bow out by putting a glue dot under it so it will stay where I want it to stay. I think that's going to be the next thing I want to do. Such a cute little card when it's all said and done. And I think you'll find that. Let me just get a glue dot. And we'll put it right there. Perfect. There we go. And now we'll put our dimensionals on our label. Hoping my cat doesn't jump up. She's wandering between my legs. All right, let's put this right here. And then let's add some of these sequins. So I'm going to add a large one right here. And I think this time with the smaller ones, instead of keeping them on the tag, I think I'm just going to put them right up here in this white area of cardstock. There we go. And that is all you need to do to make a flip top fancy fold card. So let me just show it to you again. It goes up. We've got that beautiful inside panels, and then you open up and it's all good to go. And here is the other one that I made before. So thank you so much for joining me for Fun Fold Friday. I want to remind you that I will be going live next week on Tuesday. I'll be going live at 6, and I will put a schedule out so you know exactly when I'll be going live. But I'll be going live on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'll be posting everything to YouTube, and you're able to watch the replay on Facebook as well. And we will be having that catalog kickoff party. So thank you so much for joining me for Fun Fold Friday tonight. Don't forget to subscribe to my Facebook page and subscribe to my channel on YouTube. It begins with ink and paper. And I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope to see you Tuesday night. Good night, everybody.